Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Good morning, folks. You made it. It's Friday. It's Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a good show lined up for you today. We're going to have JP Shadrick talking a little Jaguar football, and then we're going to have Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com breaking down the big game tomorrow against the Missouri Tigers, who are ranked number 20 in America. Let's go straight to the Titan MR hotline. We're joined by JP Shadrick talking Jaguars, and the city is on fire, as JP told me before the show cranked up. How you doing, my man?
Doing well. I mean, it's playoff football, and who would have thought this after week 11? The Jaguars were 3-7 and 4 games back in the division race, Shane, and rallied to walk down the Titans. It took a turnaround for the Jags. That's remarkable enough, right? With a young quarterback, everything going on, they figured some things out. But it took an epic collapse by the Titans, too. They lost their last 6 games of the season in a row, and the Jaguars pounced on it, took advantage, and won the division. So now a home playoff game Saturday night against the Chargers.
Let's go back to the game that was basically for all the marbles to get into the playoffs against the Titans. Pretty competitive football game. I thought Mike Vrabel having Josh Dobbs only there for 17 days, I thought they did a phenomenal job getting prepared for that game. I thought they played hard, but boy, the play of the game was the scoop and score. JP, do you think it was really a fumble?
It was an empty hand, Shane. You're a quarterback. You know that. You would say that. I mean, you would say it the other way. Oh, he threw the ball. No. Empty hand. But that's what this defense has been doing the last month or so. They might give up some yardage, and they might not have a great game overall, but they keep the team within arm's length of the other, and then they'll make a play late. They did it against Dallas, right? They had the pick 6 in overtime, and they did it again, of course, last week. So, but the plan against Tennessee, you knew what Tennessee was going to do. They're going to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry and protect Josh Dobbs and not try to take a lot of chances and play solid defense. That's one of the best run defenses in football, and they showed that. So the Jaguars had issues running the football, and they knew it was going to be a grinded out kind of game. That's what you have sometimes against Tennessee. And they just kind of hung around in that football game, right? Didn't let Josh Dobbs, hey, if he beats you, hey, tip your hat, that's fine. We're not going to let Derrick Henry break out an 80-yarder on us. So he carried the ball 30 times in the game and just barely got over 100 yards. So the Jags did a pretty good job of just containing him and then got it to a point where, neither offense was moving in the fourth quarter. Jags didn't have a first down in the fourth quarter, and they had the ball like 4 times. So a bunch of 3 and outs, same for the other side too. But the defense came through at the big moment and made the big play to get them to the playoffs. So hats off to the Jags defense. Now, moving ahead, this is not going to be that kind of game against the Chargers. You better score some points in this one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As you said, offense looked good at times, struggled at times. Obviously, there's one throw that we all quarterbacks have done it that Trevor missed. I don't know what Jones. I think it was one of the Joneses on a kind of a crossing pattern in the back of the end zone that literally, I mean, there wasn't a guy 15 yards from this guy and just overshot it, but that happens. In your mind, as you just said, the Chargers are a potent offense with Justin Herbert and all his weapons. How many points do you think the Jags got to score Saturday night to win this game?
Well, let's go back to that play you're talking about. It was Zay Jones in the back of the end zone. And Trevor, I guess, felt some kind of pressure. There were guys around him. So he was backpedaling a little bit, didn't have a chance to really set and throw. So he just kind of tried to lob it and just threw it into the stands. That was one of those where if he just settled down just a moment and just make the throw. Hey, you can move on from that and learn from that. I think you got to score 30. I don't think there's any way you can go into this game, thinking you're going to get 21-24 and have enough. This is a Chargers offense that has some weapons on it. They didn't have Keenan Allen back in the week 3 matchup. He's back. Mike Williams got banged up last week. We'll see how good he is this Saturday night. You know, he's going to play. I mean, he's questionable. It's a playoff game. He'll try to get him out there. We'll see how close to 100% he is. And then the real problem is Austin Eckler. This guy is a real problem out of the backfield. If you're covering everybody else, he slides out in the flat, and all of a sudden he's got 10 and a first down, or he's got 8 and can move the sticks. And like he had 8 catches last time against the Jags on 8 targets and about 50 yards, and that can be a big difference in the game. He's like their number 1 target. So how do you cover him? I don't think they're going to carve you up in the running game. That's not their idea. So if you can somehow manage away, and there's been some problems on the back end earlier in the season on this Jaguars defense. They seem to have calmed down now, but the problem, the one is Eckler, and and we'll see what they do with Keenan Allen in the slot. Can Trey Herndon keep up with him? Do they have different ideas of how to cover Allen? Because that wasn't an issue last time because he wasn't on the field, and there have been some coverage issues with Herndon at times.
Yeah, it should be a fun game. I want to say this is the first game that Herbert's had in the playoffs as well as Trevor Lawrence. So you got 2 young studs going head to head. What's the health look like for the Jags?
Oh, well, I mean, you can read the injury report all you want, but they're all going. I mean, they're all playing. There's a bunch of guys on the list. Trevor's got his toe issue that he's had for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. He's practiced some, not practiced other days. He's fine, and then fine enough, to play in the playoffs. Brandon Sheriff's another. He's had an abdomen issue and an ankle got rolled up on, but he's an 8th-year veteran guard who's not going to miss this opportunity. He's out there to tough it out for his football team and a few things like that. But for the most part, they've been very fortunate this year. They only have a few season-ending injuries on this team. That was Ben Barch, left guard early in the season, like week 5. Dwan Smoot just a couple weeks ago with an Achilles injury near the end of the game. Those are the 2 real big ones as of late, and there's a couple others. But other than that, they've used the fewest players of any team in the NFL this year. That tells you that they've been pretty healthy. So knock on wood, that continues.
Yeah. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's number 1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. A few more minutes here with JP Shadrick from the Jaguars. Andy has a question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mellon Law. JP, is Doug Peterson the coach of the year? Who else could it be?
Well, I mean, if you ask any kind of fan base that has a team that's in it that maybe rallied from some kind of deficit, they'll have an argument, right? I mean, the Eagles have an argument because of how good they are. The San Francisco head coach. I mean, for Brock Purdy to be leading that team the way they are, I mean, that's pretty remarkable what he's done as Mr. Irrelevant. They've got a great, strong defense. I understand that, but still, you have to play offense too, and he's a big reason why. But Doug Peterson has as good, if not better, of argument as anybody with the way, just the way he came into the place. First of all, it was like, what are the expectations here coming in after having 2 consecutive number 1 overall picks in this place? Okay, well, he settled things down. He kept the ship afloat after halfway point, and they weren't winning games. They were losing games late. A lot of teams could have crumbled and said, hey, we're going to Cancun, forget about it. No, he kept the message the same. Players bought in. They kept winning football games down the stretch, and he won the division title. I mean, I don't know what else he needs to do. Tony Dungy was on one of our shows the other day. He'll be the analyst on Saturday night on NBC, and he has one of 50 votes for the AP awards at the end of the year. And he told us flat out, I've already voted for Doug Peterson for Coach of the Year. So Tony agrees. I'm sure a bunch of other voters agree, but there's good 5, 6, 7 candidates that will get votes for this. It's as wide open as I remember for Coach of the Year, but Doug should have a really good argument for this.
I mean, as you stated, it's really remarkable when you sit back and you think about the previous years, obviously how bad last year was. I mean, when you say dumpster fire, the picture of the Jaguars was in the dictionary last year. And for him to turn it around and win as many games, you guys, JP, that do NFL stuff, you got stats for everything. When's the last time a team has won this many consecutive games to get into the playoffs? Has that ever happened?
Well, I mean, to rally back like this,
Right.
the only one that comes close in Jaguars lore is 1996. They had a similar record middle point of the season, and it came down to the final day of the regular season. The Jaguars played the Falcons, and it was a win and in for the Jags. There was a game earlier in the day that made that game a win and in for the Jaguars as a wild card. Well, it comes down to it. Falcons have the football, clock's running down. There's just people in the stands, I guess, are, just distraught because it's about to be over with. They line up for like a 33-yard field goal with Morton Anderson, the greatest kicker in the history of the NFL. And he slipped and pushed it left and missed. No good. Jaguars go to the playoffs and completed the epic comeback. It was only their second year of existence, right? I mean, that's the only one in Jaguars lore that comes close. And it's actually only happened a couple times in league history where a team was 3-7 after week 10 and rallied back to go to the playoffs. So no, it doesn't happen that often. This is an all-timer for the Jags. And, a lot of people say house money now. Hey, they're in the playoffs, so what?
Oh, no.
That's not what this group's thinking. No. They're in it to win it now, and they are loose as can be.
What's a shame is it would be cool if the Jags were in the NFC because I mean, look, it's the NFL. Every team is good, but boy, the AFC is just freaking loaded. Dan says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, Jaguars have been so bad for so long. He should definitely be coach of the year. I agree. I think he's done an outstanding job. I just love his demeanor. I love what he's done with the offense. Real quick before we let you go. So if any of our listeners have not bought their tickets yet and they want to roll into the TIAA Bank Field, what's it going to cost them?
Well, I think there are limited tickets available. I'll say that. They're expecting a sellout soon, and then they'll put some standing room tickets on sale. But I think the upper deck face is in the mid 100s, probably 150, 160, somewhere in there. And that's for upper deck. So, and then the resale market is through the roof right now. I mean, this is a tough ticket. Last week was the toughest ticket in a long, long time for the Jaguars. They had over 70,000 in here, packed them in like sardines. And that was with standing room and everything. So, they're going fast. Jaguars.com is the place to go. You can get them, but you better hurry because I think they'll probably be gone by the end of the day today. And then the standing room stuff will go on sale and that will go fast too. But we're expecting another great crowd. One more point about your AFC to NFC thing. Every AFC quarterback in the playoffs was a first-round pick. Only one in the NFC was a first-round pick, and that's Daniel Jones of the Giants. Everybody else was later drafted. So that tells you, there's a reason why these guys are pretty good, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, JP, that's great stuff as always. Let everybody know how they can tune into the pregame show and all that stuff with you.
Yeah, Jaguars.com or the Jaguars social media channels will be on there. And in Jacksonville, we're on at 5 o'clock with the public tailgate show. I had to remember the time for an 8:15 kickoff. And then countdown to kickoff on the network, including down in Gainesville. That's at 7 o'clock to get you ready for the 8:15. So we're loaded up with guests that want to talk about the Jags from all over the country. And it's going to be a fun show. And boy, it's going to be a fantastic football game. 42 degrees at kickoff, Shane. Come on, football weather.
Well, that's what Andy just said. It's going to be cold Saturday night. So that's football weather, as they like to say, whatever the hell that means. There was one last thing I had. Because I have not looked at the brackets. I know it depends on who else wins or whatever, but who could be the next opponent? We're not looking ahead. Tell Doug Peterson we're not looking ahead, but I'm curious where the Jags may go next.
Well, if all the favorites win, so if the Bills win against the Dolphins and if the Bengals win against the Ravens, then the Jaguars as the 4 seed would go to Kansas City for the divisional round because the Chiefs have the week off this week. If one of those teams loses, then the Jaguars would visit obviously the other one. So, okay, you would, if both the Bills and the Bengals lose, which is unlikely, but if that happens, then the Jaguars would host a divisional round playoff game because the low seed would go to Kansas City. So there's a lot out there, but it's tough. Dolphins have Skylar Thompson starting at quarterback. The Ravens quarterback situation isn't ideal. You never know in that rivalry, but those are two powerhouse offenses they're facing. So the expectation is that the Jaguars, if they were win this game, you better get ready for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs again, and they carved them up pretty nice in the regular season.
Yeah, I thought of one last thing. Ever since the incident with Damar Hamlin, being a former player and being so involved in football, it really shook me up, JP. You being around the guys in the locker room, obviously getting the great news that we've gotten the last week or so has changed the demeanor, I'm sure. But what was it like the day or two after that in the locker room?
Well, I'll tell you this. This is where Doug Peterson comes into play again as a leader and a guy who understands the NFL. I mean, he was a player too, a long time. You know that. He played in the league. He was around it. He understands what it is to go through the grind every day as a player and what those guys put on the line every time they walk between the lines. And that was just proven in the Damar Hamlin situation. So he sat the team down. I mean, the next day, remember, it's a short week for the Jags now. They've got, the Saturday night game in week 18. They moved their meetings up. But he spent a whole meeting basically, let's just talk about it. Hey, if you guys have any concerns, thoughts, we've got a team doctor in here. We got whatever we have in the meeting to help you. So they sat there and just spitballed for a while and talked it out. And, that was their way to kind of cope with it, I think, in the building. And then you heard guys in the locker room later that day talking through it and, giving their best to Damar, but realizing, hey, we've still got the league's going on, right? We've got to go play the game. And that's just part of what they signed up for too. So a lot of guys had that kind of idea about it. Those are some of the risks that come with the game of football. It's unfortunate, but hey, but I think that's where Doug comes in because he can see the bigger picture of things like that, where previous administrations may not have been able to kind of touch on it the right way like that. Doug had the perfect tone, and he always seems to have the perfect tone no matter what rolls down in front of him.
Yep, it's been a great story, no question. Hopefully they can keep it rolling. Excited for the Jaguar fans, and we'll talk to you soon, buddy. Appreciate your time, JP.
Shane, good to see you always, man. Thanks a lot.
Yep, that's JP Shadrick. Join us on the Titan MR hotline, and I got a bunch of texts we're going to get to here. And yeah, you can log off. We're good, JP. Yeah, appreciate it. Let's see. This is this is somebody referring to that basketball score yesterday that I did for the play of the day or what have you. This comes from an anonymous texter on the Titan MR text line. He says, Rashada Kemp says a deposit was supposed to hit their bank account on Friday. It didn't. The kid wants to be a Gator. Why would Florida not honor the commitment? Look, man, I don't even know. I mean, we'll get Chris Harry's thoughts on this. I just, again, does the guy really want to be a Gator? We don't know. Or is the guy just taking the best offer out there? So we don't really know the answer to that at all. Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Doreen Weaver, your realtor with Caldwell Banker M.M. Parrish, will provide you with fast, friendly, reliable service. Give her a call today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. David says here, football will be outlawed in 100 years, but until then, strap it up. I mean, they've made the game safe. I mean, it's hard to play defense and take shots, but what happened to Damar Hamlin had nothing to do with anybody doing anything illegal. It was just a freak accident, and hate to see that happen. Some other news and notes around UF. If you're a softball fan, Tim Walton and the girls got them a new fancy scoreboard. Check that out on FloridaGators.com, and we'll go from there. We're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we're going to be joined by one of the senior writers for FloridaGators.com. We're going to talk about Todd Golden's squad. Got a big game in the O'Connell Center tomorrow against the Missouri Tigers, who have been playing really good basketball. We'll be joined by Chris Harry. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate, with premium brands like Nike, International Diamond Center, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, Escape Apology, Visor's Rooftop, and the HBC's Restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, the #1 celebrity polished casual restaurant in America. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. Don't forget also, Coach Spurrier has a street being named after him out at Celebration Point. Be sure to log on to spurs.com and you can check out how all that's going to work. I thought we had Chris Harry on, but we don't have Chris Harry on. He's coming on in a few minutes. We got JC, who's coming to us live internationally. We don't want to run your bill up too much, JC. I don't know if you have the international package on your flip phone, but thanks for joining the program, man.
Yeah, QB, I'm sorry it was late. I just had to be on a shuttle to get to this golf course, and it's down here in Nassau. So thank you for letting me come on real quick so we can get these Peachland Dental picks in, because I got winners, baby.
All right, so we got the Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. This is the JC and the QB playoff picks. All right, JC.
Yes.
What do we got here?
All right. Well, Saturday, which is tomorrow. I love the two home teams to win the game, although I think Jacksonville will have a lot harder time of it. They're getting 2.5 points. If you can buy that 1/2 to 3, you take the Jags, because the magic is real in Jacksonville against the Chargers, who I have said over and over again have the ability to win it all. They're that good, but there's something about the Jacksonville Jaguars that my heart's with them, and that's probably a true loser right there. So go with the Chargers, but I'm taking the Jags. And then we've got San Francisco tomorrow.
Well, I mean, hang on a second. Can I speak here?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sure. I beg your pardon.
I mean, are you in that big of a hurry?
Not at all. No, I'm sorry. I just got on a run. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
go ahead.
All right. So I like the Jags too, although I think the Chargers could blow them out. That's how good they are on offense. But I figured they'll find a way to win at home, so I'll take the Jags as well.
Oh, you're going to take the Jags? That's surprising me, because you love the Chargers. You love them.
I took the Jags last week too, though. And lost.
Well, I'll say this: if San Diego, I know I refuse to call them Los Angeles, but if the Chargers win, I wouldn't be surprised if they go and they win the next week and play either Kansas City or Buffalo. I really wouldn't be surprised. All right, so then we've got San Francisco at home, QB, and I don't care what anyone says about Brock Purdy. I think he is better than what they've had already this year. He has not lost. They will beat Seattle by 20 points. I really believe that.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Shanahan is as good as there is. They got a tremendous defense. Purdy is just fine. I think San Fran wins huge too.
Okay, so lay the 9.5 and don't feel bad about it. Don't go kick your dog because, Seattle gets an opening field goal and you're now down 12.5. San Francisco over the course of the game will win that game by 20 points. I believe that, which means it probably won't happen, but I do think San Francisco is the best team in the NFC. And then on Sunday we have 3 games, and really Miami has no chance to score on Buffalo. You have to lay the 13.5, and don't feel bad about that either. Buffalo is an inspired team. They will play Kansas City, and they will play Kansas City on a neutral field. I think they ought to do it outdoors. They should play the game in Chicago, and that's how much
they've already said where they're
Miami.
playing. They've already said they're playing
I
in
missed
the Georgia Dome.
Oh my God, that's awful. Sir, jeez, miss. Okay, so whatever they do is what they do, and that's assuming they play. We don't know; they may not, but I can't see Buffalo not winning this game by 20 points as well. I really can't. All right, the Minnesota Vikings to me are a fraud. Yeah.
No, okay.
Bills. Yeah, I know you were going to say Buffalo. Minnesota's a fraud. Something tells me the Giants rested their starters last week. They're going to stay inside this number. I'm probably wrong, and this is a bad pick, but I think the Giants pull the upset. We're going to have an upset this weekend, and it's got to be somewhere, and this is the best pick. This is the best place for me to see an upset. New York Giants pick off the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Vikings. I just think they're way too explosive. They're way more explosive on offense than the Giants. I think Justin Jefferson will make too many plays.
Okay. All right. No, I wouldn't feel bad about laying that 3, but for some reason I'm going to take an upset here. All right. Then we've got Baltimore at Cincinnati, your beloved Bengals. I think they're great. I think they got kind of the raw end of the deal on this field, on the seeding thing, because they were beating Buffalo at the time the game was halted. But listen, it doesn't matter. They're going to play very well against Baltimore. They'll beat them by at least 10 points. Take the Bengals. Lay the points.
I like Cincy too, big. Then the Monday night
I think
game.
some of these games are – yeah, okay, Dallas and Tampa. I know how you feel about Tampa. I'm not really sure what's wrong with Dallas right now. I mean, something's going on there, but I think they'll get it together and at least win by 3 points. So take the Dallas Cowboys over the Bucs. The Bucs just seem, like you say, they seem old. They seem slow. Now, Brady did in his last game have his best game, and that was the weekend they clinched, and he threw for over 400 yards, and Mike Evans was involved. And if that happens, they'll stay close to Dallas. So that's going to be a tough game on Monday night. But
I'm taking the Buccaneers.
Really? Wow.
I think the Cowboys have a lot of problems. I don't know what they are, but they have not played good. Dak, they cannot play on grass. You know, they're like the old Rams. People, if you go and look at their stats on grass, they're horrible. Dak throws a ton of interceptions. Right. Brady will keep it close, and they are old, but I think they'll find a way to beat Dallas because I just think Dallas is playing terrible.
No, I mean, nobody's going to argue with that. The last game they played was brutal. I just don't think they took that game seriously. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I'll take Dallas to win by more than 2.5. You got the Bucs, so write that down, and we'll see how we do.
All right, JC, have fun on your golf trip.
Yeah.
Is Joe from Peachland Dental on this trip?
We did not see Joe. He didn't make it. I'm sure they're still dealing with what happened down south with the hurricane. And, we all are thinking about our friends down in the Fort Myers and Port Charlotte area. That area was ravaged by that hurricane. And we certainly, I continuously think about them. And I gave some money to the Red Cross. You gotta remember that we had a disaster down there and it gets forgotten quickly. And so think of our friends down in Fort Myers and that Port Charlotte area. And I shot 79 yesterday with 2 double bogeys. I love this golf course. It's one of my favorites. And I think today without the wind, I can do better. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, good luck, JC. We'll talk to you on Monday.
Thank you, Kitty. Thank you. See you.
Yeah, that's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to have Chris Harry here in a minute, folks. But in the meantime, I'm going to get to some of these text messages. This text message told me to listen to a podcast. I don't have time to listen to that podcast. Sorry, bud. All right. Dan says he's a Dallas guy. Obviously, I hate that Dallas plays on Monday, then has to turn around and play a resting Philly team. I don't know why. I mean, I know why for ratings and things of that nature, but it's interesting why they do a Monday night playoff game. I think they started that last year. I get it, but I don't get it. There was a text or a Facebook Live I want to read here before we get to Chris Harry, if I can find it. We'll ask Chris what he knows, what's going on with Jaden Rashada. But this is from Joseph on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. He says, at this point, it's best for both sides to come to an agreement and just split. I agree. Kid will have that hanging over his head, not to mention what other drama could come up. I agree. We got to get off the roller coaster. I agree. I agree with everything you said, Joseph. I don't know where it stands right now. I think it's best, whether we got to pay him some money to go elsewhere, or whether we got to, obviously we can let him out of his signing. I just don't know how anything good with him coming to Florida, unless he turns into a Heisman Trophy winner, which could happen, but he may never play either. So we don't know. But it's still embarrassing to me, folks, that we would even offer anywhere near that kind of money for a guy we have no idea that can complete a pass in SEC play. I mean, let's be real. It blows my mind. It's embarrassing. Another text on the Type More text line from Daryl. Says, good morning, guys. With all this NFL money out there, or NIL money out there now, I've never believed in booing a college athlete, but do you think the fans should start booing college athletes now? Hell yeah. But Daryl, I will say this, and I think it's all going to work its way out, because apparently a lot of the guys from A&M that were in that big recruiting class that got paid quite a bit have left the program, because they weren't very good, whether they didn't like Jimbo or the system or whatever, but also supposedly they weren't honoring what was out there in their contracts. I think you're going to see that happen a lot. And I think these businessmen or people that are writing these checks, they want to return on their investment. They're smart. They're going to say, this is stupid. I really feel that way. So we'll talk with Chris Harry about it a little bit. Clayton says on Facebook Live, could Lincoln Riley's brother leaving TCU help us with Walker Howard? I would hope. I don't think Walker Howard is going to follow him to Clemson because of Cade Klubnik. I would love to have Walker Howard. Andy says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. Shane, did you see the XFL announcers? A very impressive group. Yeah, all the games are on ESPN or ABC. They're doing it right. It's everything that we've been involved with so far during training camp has been first class. Couldn't say anything negative about it. It's been outstanding. Dwayne Johnson and his group, his ex-wife, Danny Garcia, who is in charge of the league, they've done a phenomenal job trying to put this thing together. Kenny says they got to learn the hard way. Thankfully, it isn't Gator Booster's money. If he gets paid big and flops, the money dries nearly up. Well, first of all, the money that was offered to him, we don't have that money. That's the biggest issue. And I just, like I said, again, the dollar amount is just mind-blowing. Let's see where Chris Harry is. Let me text Chris Harry and see if he's ready to roll. So let's do this. Let's take a timeout. Another timeout. When Tom Collette says, time up. And we're going to come back and hopefully we're going to be joined by Chris Harry, talk a little Gator hoops. You're watching and listening. Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, M.M. Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruzoger State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to have life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. We're now going to go back to the Titan MR hotline. We're joined by senior writer Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com. Good morning, Chris.
How you doing, Shane?
Gator Hoops won 2 in a row. Got a big game in the O'Connell Center against a really good team, Missouri, who's in the top 20. Let's go back to kind of recap the Georgia. It was a horrible first half. They closed out the first half, made a little run. In the second half, they were outstanding. LSU, I didn't get to see the LSU game. I was trying to follow it online. Just tell us how you thought we played overall against the Tigers.
Well, no, in the first half, not very well. It's a slow starting team, and that's something that this coaching staff is going to have to figure out a little bit, I think. But didn't shoot well at all in the first half. But then in the second half, Shane, they may have played their best basketball this season if you consider 55% shooting, being on the road, having won the first SEC road game to get a victory for Todd Golden. I don't know why LSU chose to single cover Colin Castleton. Nobody has done that this year. And when he's been double and triple teamed, it's caused Florida problems. LSU tried to single team him, and their big guy, KJ Williams, and whoever they stuck to him on the post really had a hard time handling. He drew 10 fouls in the game, which is a season high. He was 12 of 15 from the free throw line. Florida's become a very good free throw shooting team. I want to say they were 20 of 22 in the second half from the free throw line that game, which helped close that game out. But the takeaway, if you want to take a snapshot, if you will, at a team through halfway point of the season, 16 games, they figured out that, they obviously have weaknesses when it comes to shooting the basketball, 3-point line, what have you. Maybe that'll improve. Maybe it's not like we have a small sample size from which to go with. But they play defense. In the last 6 games, they've held all 6 opponents under 40% shooting, and that includes 4 SEC games. So if they defend, and one of the things they are defending better is they've made more of a commitment to transition defense. They're sending one less guy to the offensive glass and rotating him back, which has really helped them since a couple like disastrous games against Florida Atlantic, Xavier, West Virginia game. But as a whole, as a defensive unit, that's something they're hanging their hat on. You got an elite rim protector in Castleton. He's averaging 5 blocks a game in SEC play. That's like Walker Kessler last year for Auburn. So that's where they are right now. And again, you mentioned Missouri coming in. This is going to be an interesting test for them, Shane, because Missouri's one of the highest tempo teams in the country. They're ranking a top 5 in the country in offensive efficiency. So let's see where this newfound defensive efficiency stacks up against a really fast team. And Texas A&M may have blueprinted how to defend Missouri the other night because Missouri had their worst offensive game by far. Let's see if Florida can maybe mimic that and make Missouri really, really work for some things, especially in transition, because they shoot the ball, they get it out, and they shoot it fast.
Chris, let me ask you this, because I don't know a whole lot about Todd Golden, but he's all in the analytics and being a point guard in his career. He's a guy that wanted to play up tempo and shoot the basketball, correct? But he's kind of
I don't think that's necessarily the case. He had a team that was in the 200s in pace of play. I think he wants to play. I think he wants to play the pace that his player that's best for his players. So he's not married to one way or the other. Whereas maybe Dennis Gates at Missouri is. I don't know that. I don't know Dennis Gates. I know he played fast at Cleveland State, but he was 8-year assistant under Leonard Hamilton, and they don't play faster. So
right. So what I was trying to get at is, I haven't been to any games and not being in Gainesville right now, but everybody was so upset with Mike White because he focused on defense and slowing the game down. Have you heard people complaining the style of play, is it, since it could be very similar to what Mike White is doing. I was just trying to think because, I think people thought with a new young guy like this, they would come in here and run and gun a little bit.
Yeah. No, I haven't heard that. More than anything, you hear that. Thank God Mike White's gone, which obviously, I've talked to you about this. It's idiotic. I mean, George is like, thank God Mike White's here.
Yeah.
Mike White, I believe, is a good coach, and obviously he's a very good person. He had his flaws here. Maybe he'll address them in Georgia. I don't know. He wasn't perfect. Few basketball coaches are, but I think Todd is in a transitionary kind of thing. He's in a new situation. I'm looking at the schedule and just like, I know he had to play Gonzaga and St. Mary's a couple of times, but at the end of this month, they're at Kansas State. They're Tennessee at home, Kentucky on the road, and Alabama on the road. Okay, and say what you want about Kentucky, you still. I mean, that's a murderer's row coming up. So they got to make some hay with what they got right now. And the thing in front of them is a game against Missouri. Missouri's 12-3, or 13-3, whatever the hell the record is. So this is this is a pivotal stretch for them. They go to Texas A&M next week. That's going to be a hard game, obviously. The Southeastern Conference, while I'm starting to see it's probably a little more top heavy than I even thought. I think Alabama and Tennessee are elite. Arkansas is dealing with some really bad injuries right now, and they're not the team I think a lot of people may have thought. But Florida is right in there in the mix and trying to figure out where they are in the middle of this bracket, which over the next few weeks will certainly separate and see who the better players are or better teams.
We got a text from Jimmy on the Titan MR text line. He says, Chris, who is the one player on this Gator roster that needs to get playing at a high level for the Gators to win more games?
Well, I mean, I could name a couple, but some guy that jumps at me right now is Koisi Reeves. He was 1 of 9 the other day from 3-point range. He's a really good shooter. He's 2 for 22 in SEC play. That's 9%. I got to think those numbers are going to average out eventually because he's around a 40% career 3-point shooter. So if you had asked me a couple of weeks ago, I would have said Will Richard because he got up to a really, really good start. He was shooting well over 50% from the field and from 3-point range, and then went into a lull where he didn't make a 3 for 5 games. So Riley Kugel is starting to come into his own a little bit as a freshman. I mean, he's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but he had a DNP a couple of weeks ago at Auburn and kind of took it to heart because the coaches said, you're going to do what we want you to do. Okay. When you're out there and you're going to have good attitude about it. And he's certainly done a 180 and he's playing defense, playing better, being asked what he's supposed to do. I like how Myron Jones has responded. He's a 5th-year guy, obviously very, very mature. Came here with a reputation as a 3-point sniper. He had a bad 3-point shooting year last year. He started off really slow this year. He didn't tank out, but because they needed his I guess his veteran savvy to kind of be a Robin to Kyle Lofton's Batman in the backcourt. And he hadn't turned the ball over the last 2 games, and he's played over 40 minutes in those 2 games. I think over 50 minutes in those 2 games. So I can't pinpoint one guy. I just think that this team has a higher ceiling than what it's played to, and I think maybe they're inching their way toward that, whatever that ceiling might be.
A couple of people here on Facebook Live have commented about how frustrated they were about the negativity towards Coach Mike White. What was it like in the O'Connell Center when Georgia rolled in?
I mean, there was some boos.
The boos probably came from the student section, which they have no idea they're just booing.
No. It was more distant. I think the students. I think the students may have had a talking to about how to handle this thing a little bit better with some class, because Mike White never did anything to shame this program. I mean, he went to 4 NCAA tournaments, and it would have been 5 in 7 years. Like I said, people disagree with how he played and some outcomes of some games they should have won that they lost. Whatever, that's fine. But I mean, there's no reason to treat him with any disrespect. But I think once the initial awkwardness, and he doesn't like things being about him. He never liked going back to Ole Miss where he was a 4-year starter. Oh, Mike, welcome back, and he was always uncomfortable with that. He just wants to coach his basketball team, and I think Georgia played a good game. Obviously, he's already won twice as many games as Tom Crean won last year.
Wow,
So
yeah.
he's en route to maybe even being the SEC Coach of the Year. Certainly being in the mix of that if they win, say, 18 games or something like that after going 6-26 last year.
Chris, we got a text here from Bob on the Tag No More text line. He says, Chris, are you, excuse me. He says, what are your thoughts on Calipari and the Kentucky Wildcats?
Well, I mean, if the fans here thought like the Mike White stuff was unattainable, I mean, what do you think he's dealing with up there? I mean, and they don't want to lose any games, and they don't think they should ever lose any games. And now they're off, I think, to their worst SEC start since 1986-87. Lost to South Carolina at home, and South Carolina by all metrics is probably the worst team in the league. So they're dealing with some stuff right now, and you know the administration is in a tough situation because they basically gave the guy a lifetime contract. Not that Kentucky and those people up there can't afford to move on from something else, and maybe that's where we're headed. But you know, the people saw the thing where the fan was holding up a sign, "Go to Texas as soon as possible" or something like that, and and Texas has an opening. John Calipari is the ultimate P.T. Barnum when it comes to rallying the troops and whatever, and they loved him 10 years ago. They don't love him right now, and they're throwing out all kinds. They say hire Chris Beard. We don't care what he did. So that's the kind of mentality there is right now. They say Billy Donovan will come back. I mean, they're I don't even want to think about that. So let's we won't go there any further. But to your questioner's question, it's a difficult situation that needs to be turned around. He's going to have heat on him the rest of the year, no matter what. Actually.
Yeah. All right. Before we let you go, we got to get you a football question in here. Obviously, the saga of Jaden Rashada. Everybody's still talking about it today. What do you know? Where does it stand? What do you think is going to happen, Chris?
Gators play Missouri in basketball Saturday, Shane. Yeah, I'm gonna guess that Scott Carter has been on this show this week, and he's the football expert. But I mean, this whole drama. I know you love NIL, Shane. And you love the direction of college sports, but we're kind of getting a preview of things to come. And I would just say I hope the NCAA in the long run addresses how this whole thing is handled, because I'm glad players are getting money. I just think there needs to be some kind of we need to get out of the wild west.
Structure and rules.
Some kind of structure and rules, because I don't know what compliance people are doing nowadays. Because like I make the joke all the time, Torian Green can't work out a guy in off hours here in the gym, but we're talking about how many millions of dollars we're going to give this particular player in this sport.
When you think of it, it's just so dumb, and it's crazy. Last question, we'll let you go. Is the kid, the freshman kid for Alabama, the best player in the league? Is it Miller? Brandon
Miller. Now, if Nick Smith had been healthy, maybe he was, because he's been projected as maybe a top 3 pick in the NBA draft. He got hurt. He missed, I want to say, the first 4 or 5 games, came back, got hurt again. I don't know that we'll see him again. If you're a top 5 lottery pick at this point, even right now, and you haven't played, I don't know why you get back in the mix, but that's up to Eric Musselman and what have you. But Brandon Miller is playing like a first-team All-American. And I'll add something else. You know who else is? Keontae Johnson. And we haven't talked about him, but I'm sure fans saw his highlight from the other night that helped put that Oklahoma State game away. Obviously, we'll see him up close and personal when the Gators go to K-State. People talked about how awkward Mike White was coming. Gators going there and playing against him. I know there'll be a lot of love from both sides, obviously, but I've talked to people. I mean, I'm so happy for him. And if watching him be great and going on to stardom and having all his health is the worst thing that can happen from all this, then we're in a good place with him. So I just wanted to say a shout out to that guy.
Yeah, he's played. I actually was flipping through the channels and I saw this unbelievable dunk right at the
where
end.
he catches with one hand and right. It was like 20 seconds left in the game to put the game away. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously he wants to go play pro ball. Is this his last year of eligibility?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, congratulations to him because he's had an outstanding year. It's been great to see. Chris, we appreciate your time, my man. Have a great weekend, and hopefully the Gators can find a way to beat the Tigers tomorrow.
All right, Shane. Thanks, man. See you.
Yep, that's Chris Harry. Join us on the Titan Number Hotline. You can follow Chris on Twitter at GatorsChris. This Day in Sports brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Give Comfort Temp a call at 352-376-2366. This Day in Sports in 2020, the College Football National Championship game at the Superdome. Number 1 LSU behind Joe Burrow beat the Clemson Tigers 42-15. That's brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Hope you have a great weekend, folks. A lot of NFL